Over $1 trillion has just been wiped clean from the software market. And you want to know why? It's because the story we're all being told about AI, it's just plain wrong.
Yeah, you heard me right, $1 trillion. We're talking about a massive market correction, a brutal, great repricing that's bigger than anything we've seen since the dot-com crash. And it all boils down to one simple fact. The AI everyone is obsessing over, that's not the real revolution.
But here's the thing. The real reason this is happening, it points to a secret about where this is all going. A future where whole industries, maybe even coding itself, just become obsolete. And it all comes down to a single number. A number I'm going to reveal at the very end of this.
All right, so let's get into it. To really get what's happening, we got to separate fact from fiction. We need to talk about what AI is, and maybe more importantly, what it isn't.
You know the hype, right? It's all about these amazing viral video apps. You type in a few words and poof, magic. But the reality? Well, for the companies actually building them, they're not magic. They're just giant, unsustainable money pits.
I mean, look at OpenAI's Sora. We all saw it. It was incredible, right? It blew our minds. But behind the curtain, things were different. The Wall Street Journal got the scoop that internally, it was seen as this huge money pit that was actually distracting them from their core business.
And the numbers? Wow, the numbers tell the real story. Sora was apparently burning through $1 million a day in just compute costs. $1 million a day, and for what? For less than 500,000 users. I mean, the math just doesn't add up. So, of course, it got shut down. And that reported billion-dollar deal with Disney, gone. Poof. This wasn't about the tech failing. No, this was the business model failing, a model built completely on hype.
But look, this is way bigger than just one viral app. The entire AI industry is basically sprinting headfirst into a brick wall, a wall made of physical and financial limits.
Remember that number? $1 million a day? That's not the problem itself, it's a symptom of a much bigger issue, just how insanely expensive it is to run these giant AI models.
And it's not just money they're burning through. It's energy. So much energy that the biggest tech companies in the world are having to walk back their climate pledges. Can you believe that? Even with all this investment in renewables, their emissions are going through the roof. We're talking about a 60% jump for Meta and almost 50% for Google. That's huge. So, this all leads to a really uncomfortable question we all have to ask. I mean, at this rate, with this insane level of consumption, is any of this even sustainable?
And that lack of sustainability, it's kicking off this frantic, global scramble. It's a brand new arms race. But this time, it's not about who has the best AI model. No, it's about who controls the actual building blocks, the chips, the power, the infrastructure.
And the sheer scale of this is it's mind-boggling. You've got Mistral in Europe taking on almost $1 billion in debt just for a data center. You have startups raising hundreds of millions to literally launch data centers into orbit. Meta's locking down gigawatts of non-NVIDIA chips, while NVIDIA itself is pouring billions into securing these tiny little optical parts that connect all their hardware. This isn't a software race anymore. This is a fight for physical stuff. And this arms race, it's splitting the world in two. Just look at China. Their domestic chip makers have already grabbed over 40% of their own market. And you have giants like DeepSeek who are now building their newest models to run only on Huawei's AI chips. They're actively moving away from US tech.
So what's the result? A super fast, global decoupling. The two biggest AI ecosystems on the planet are just splintering apart. They're building their own separate, incompatible systems, right from the silicon chips all the way up.
Okay, so if the flashy video stuff is just a big, expensive distraction, and the hardware race is creating a global mess, then what is the real AI revolution? Well, it's something quieter, something way more important, and it's already here. We're talking about the rise of AI agents.
And seriously, forget everything you think you know about chatbots. Agentic AI is a totally different ballgame. These aren't systems that just answer your questions. Think of them more like autonomous digital coworkers. They can understand a complex goal, use your software for you, and get multi-step projects done all on their own.
Okay, so how does that work in the real world? Imagine saying to an AI, hey, summarize last quarter's sales reports and then email the main points to the board. An AI agent gets that, it opens up your spreadsheets, it opens up your email, it does the whole workflow, and then sends the finished product, all without you doing a single thing. And that
That right there is why that trillion-dollar software market is falling apart. Why would you pay for every single person on your team to have a software license when one AI agent can do the work of the whole team? This is the SaaS apocalypse everyone's talking about, and believe me, it is just getting started.
But for these agents to really take over the world, they can't run on the same old hardware, not the power-guzzling stuff that made Sora a failure. And that brings us to the second big revolution that's happening at the same time, the race to build a totally new kind of computer chip.
So we're shifting from the brute force, energy-wasting GPUs of today to a future that's all about efficiency and, frankly, some pretty wild and exotic ways of computing. And some of the stuff they're working on sounds like science fiction. We're talking about neurosymbolic chips that actually mimic the brain, and they promise something like a 100x reduction in energy use. We've got companies literally launching data centers into space to run on solar power. And then there's quantum computing, which is finally leaving the lab to solve problems that are impossible for today's machines. This is the hardware that's going to power our agentic future.
All right, so we've seen the problem, right? The hype, the chaos it's causing, and we've seen the two quiet revolutions that are the real answer, these new AI agents and this crazy new hardware. So now, let's close that loop I opened at the beginning.
Remember? Way back at the start, I told you there was one secret number that connects all these dots, a number that explains why this is all happening right now, a number that marks the moment AI went from just being clever to being something much, much more powerful.
That number is 84.6%. Now, that number isn't just pulled out of thin air. It's the score Google's newest model, Gemini 3.2, just hit on a benchmark that measures true reasoning. We're not talking about just matching patterns anymore. This is a huge leap. It's the beginning of the kind of general intelligence that agents need to actually think, to plan, and to get things done on their own. This number is the reasoning engine that makes this whole revolution possible. It's the spark that just lit the fuse.
Look, all of this is moving at an incredible speed. Markets are collapsing, digital coworkers are being born. It's a lot. And that brings me to my final question for you. What's one job, just one, that you think AI agents will completely automate within the next 5 years? Let me know what you think down in the comments. I'd love to hear your take.